Right, and I'll just go flick back. There's no presentation of petitions, and move now to Tira Kāhikuhiku. So Chrissy Williams, welcome back for your quarterly report on the work that you're doing in the group.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think you're used to these reports by now, and I don't plan. Is my speaker on? Yeah, I don't plan to go through them in detail. Just a few things I'd just bring to your attention. One is that we're having fewer transitional land use applications coming through to us from LINZ, and you can see that we cancelled our May meeting because we didn't have any applications. So because of the 6-month lease or licence constraint that LINZ are now putting in place, that's reduced people's willingness to apply for leases and licences and waiting for the when council owns the land to make those applications. So, and you also note that what we have made recommendations on have been licences, not leases. So those they're not as formal, I guess, as leases. They give people an opportunity to have availability to land to do things like investigations. So that's the trend that's happening. I think it's important to note, though, that there's still a number of leases and licences sitting there that are sitting with LINZ, and the various groups that have those leases and licences need to comply with the conditions that LINZ have on them. And council staff just have to be careful in their enthusiasm to support those groups keeping to the conditions that they've got, and not sort of starting to look at as if council owns the land already. So if that makes sense. So I think we need to respect that LINZ have got those conditions and people need to comply. You'll also notice that we've had a number of presentations, some from council staff, which have been really valuable about what's planned and what's going to be happening, but also from some of the applicants, both applicants for land use and also for funding. We try and have those at a different time from when we're considering their reports, but they're incredibly helpful for the group to get really understand the background to what the group will be applying for and what they intend to do and how they intend to work with the community and others. So as far as the funding, you'll see that this is the first time we've had a Part A. We're making a recommendation to you about some funding for the Eco Action Nursery Trust. And that's a separate report, and staff are here to support that, but I'm happy to answer any questions about that while I'm at the table. I think that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Thanks so much, Chrissy. So if people have got questions either on the minutes or on the application, I think deal with both at the same time is probably the easiest. Tim.
Thank you. Chrissy, just on page 20, with regards to the item 4, Red Zone Transition Fund application July 2021, the 2 Ardent exit installations, one of the issues we talk about here and I've brought up is about the ongoing cost of maintenance and upkeep of the artworks. Do you know anything about those? And so I'm presuming it will come back to council at some stage.
Yeah, well, and you can see by the amount they're not going to be very long-term artworks. So they were applications from LIVs in the East by East zone around that part of Burwood. One was for some painting, on-road painting. So, and it was to sort of introduce into the area where all the East by East activity is happening, and the other was on a container that was, I think, had graffiti on it, so it was really to put a mirror on the container. So I don't think there'll be any long-term operational costs for council. They were fairly short-term projects, but we were supporting them because they had a lot of volunteer time involved with those, and also to support all the projects they're already doing in that area.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any of those? No?
You don't want me to talk about the mulch with...
No, I think that it sounds like people are happy. Okay, so... Sorry, hang on. Michael, you happy to move both of those? And Andrew, happy to second both of those reports? So we've got the same mover and seconder for both, but we'll put them separately. Yeah. Yanni.
Oh, I mean, I'm happy for you to talk about the mulch and that's the pretty significant cost in that project. And I mean, if there were ways in which, my understanding was that we would look at ways to offset that cost and then discuss it with the group.
Yeah, and that's the plan, and that first paragraph of the Part A report refers to that. When we made the decision, we didn't have enough information about whether council was saying they could supply some of the mulch.
Yeah.
They require 2,000 cubic metres. They're planting 20,000 trees next year, which is 2 hectares. You know, it's absolutely huge, involving volunteers from all the schools. So 2,000 cubic metres, they get some donated from Living Earth, on which they have to pay cartage. The other, they pay a commercial rate. So if council can provide that $21 per hectare can be reduced, right, and discussions can be having with the group about returning some of that funding, or finding alternatives, but probably returning that funding. But the information we had, that we didn't know whether council had the quantity, could supply it at the right time, and whether the group would have to pay cartage on that. So there were too many unknowns for us to feel like we could subtract from the grant at this stage, but certainly the staff will continue discussions. And more generally, I think we're going to have talks with the trust about their sustainability and their longevity, because it's a group of 4 or 5 people that are just, you've talked about it before, Yanni, the amazing work they're doing, and I know Andrew was up at one of their plantings recently, how council can support them in the work they're doing. Because they can't keep growing at the rate they're doing on this current model. So,
yeah, I guess, the other question I kind of had is, I don't know how much of this was discussed around what's happening at QE2, because initially we heard presentations. We've got massive amounts of money on budget as council for tree planting at QE2.
So Yanni, Chrissy's not a staff member. She's here
No,
just to
I
talk
get
about
that. But just in terms of the work that the group's doing, I just wasn't quite clear if any of the work in this project is going to be focused at QE2. So that's what I just wanted to...
Yes, certainly 2 of the planting projects this winter have been at QE2. So, but you'd need to talk with staff about the budget around that, and we're supporting this group and their the way they work with schools, so and also do the planting in the red zone. So.
Yeah.
And it's land adjacent to the red zone. It's very hard to have a very strong boundary
That's right.
in that area.
Right, if there are no further questions, we've got a mover and seconder, and we'll do the minutes first. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No, declare that carried. And item 8,